How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the channel. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. It helps out, means a ton. You guys get plenty of fun stuff. So, getting right into it today. Yes, we are talking about the immaculate, the magnificent Satoru Gojo. And why not start with those pretty baby blues? Yeah, why not? The reason I want to start with the 6 eyes is because, one, we kind of know the least about the 6 eyes compared to the rest of his Limitless technique. And because, well, if we're being honest, Satoru Gojo would not be Satoru Gojo without the 6 eyes. He would probably still be pretty powerful with just the Limitless, but the 6 eyes is kind of what allows him to go over the top and become this insanely overpowered character that we know today. Like the Limitless, the 6 eyes are an inherited technique from the Gojo family that has been passed down to Gojo. While they are inherited techniques, they are still innate. Gojo was still born with the 6 eyes and the Limitless. Now, as far as what they do, they basically kind of act as a Sharingan. Not really gonna lie. Seeing the Sharingan allows you to see chakra very well, perceive it, mold it much easier. It has very similar effects. He can see cursed energy extremely well, he can see almost anything extremely well, and it allows him very, very precise control over his cursed energy, which helps a lot with the Limitless, but in general, it also just helps to the point where the amount of cursed energy it needs for him to activate any technique is severely, and I mean severely, reduced. He uses very little energy to use even a powerful attack like Azure Glow. He still doesn't have to use anywhere near as much cursed energy as someone else would without the 6 eyes if they were trying to use that technique. I believe this does stretch into enacting barriers, doing any kind of Jujutsu, anything that involves cursed energy. He doesn't have to use very much. He has very, very precise control over it, which allows it to be more effective, and for him to waste less. So it is almost impossible to tire Gojo out or win a battle of attrition against him. He just simply has too good of control over his cursed energy, and you have to use far too much to try and keep up with him. If somebody is going to be Gojo, it's going to have to be done quickly. These 6 eyes are actually so powerful, they even allowed him to see Toji Fushiguro sneaking up on him, and keep in mind, Toji has no cursed energy to speak of. So it wasn't just picking up on cursed energy coming up behind Gojo. They see basically everything. Getting into the Limitless now, because when you combine the 6 eyes and the Limitless, this combination is what allows Gojo to be, well, Gojo. So the simplest way to explain the Limitless at its most basic function is it allows Gojo to manipulate space. Now, that is a very broad way to describe it, and this actually leads into many diverging paths. Maybe not many, but a few. So, at its base function, with the infinity that it allows Gojo to access. This infinity is based off of a paradox known in the real world, known as Achilles and the tortoise. Gojo has actually stated that in the manga, but anyway, it is based off of that paradox, in which I will put it up on screen now so you guys can actually see the image while I'm describing it. Every time the tortoise moves forward, Achilles also moves forward. While yes, Achilles can jump much further than the tortoise can, moving much faster, if they move at the same time every time, Achilles will never catch the tortoise because he can only get to where the tortoise started. These are infinitely smaller versions of infinity that go on forever. This is why the closer you get to Gojo, the more you slow down. Even though you simply slow down instead of actually being physically stopped, it is still infinity. You will continue to go slower and slower and slower and slower and slower and slower, to the point where you will never actually touch him. The only way to do this is to deactivate that technique by, say, a cursed tool, cursed object, or there are other ways to do it, but we're not going to get into those right now. We're talking about the technique. Another thing you can relate the infinity to, if it makes it a little easier to understand, because some of this stuff is kind of weird and conceptual and paradoxical and mathematical and all kinds of weird stuff. I don't know how Gojo decided to make, like, mathematical paradoxes cool, but yeah, he did. Good job, Gege. Anyway, you can take the concept of infinite infinities. So this is actually a pretty simple one. If you take all of the whole numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, onto infinity, there are an infinite amount of whole numbers. There are even smaller infinite numbers within whole numbers. So 0, 1, 2, 3 onto infinity We also have 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 on to infinity before you ever reach 1. So in between 0 and 1, there are an infinite amount of numbers. And then between every single other whole number, there are also an infinite amount of numbers between them as well. In between each one of those decimals is an even smaller amount of infinities. So each singular number has an infinite amount of numbers in between them. So you just keep stacking more and more infinities on top of each other. You can never get through all of them. That's why you continually slow further and further down. You may think if Gojo never moves that you will eventually reach him because, oh, it's only slowing you down more. No. It is infinite. You will never touch him. So now, moving past the base function of using infinities, these infinities are manipulated in different ways to cause different effects. Starting first with the, proper non-reversal technique for the Limitless Azure Glow. The simplest way to explain the actual physical effects of Azure Glow is the fact that it basically creates a vacuum around a singular point, and anything around that vacuum within a certain radius, diameter, however you want to say it, will be dragged violently toward that center. This can be fatal, yes. He can crush people with this. The way he achieves this is basically by creating a paradox that cannot exist in that space. So saying -1 apples exists right at the tip of my finger. That would cause an irregularity that the world now has to fix. There cannot be -1 apples right here. So everything around it has to try and fill the gap to make up for the absence of, mass, something, anything. That is how Gojo creates the Azure Glow. Next, of course, after the Azure Glow, we have to go to Reversal Red, because this is simply the reversal of the first technique. Azure Glow, he makes -1 apples. Reversal Red, well, you can have +1 apples right here. What you cannot do, however, is have +2 apples in the same spot. This is basically the same as trying to put two things in the exact same spot within the universe without increasing mass, any of these types of things. It's still a paradox. You can't have two apples in the same exact spot. They would have to morph into one apple or something like that. That ain't happening. So, what do we do instead? Instead of morphing things together, we just blow everything apart. So yeah, instead of making an absence, he basically makes double. And the universe, once again, has to correct that because, like I said, can't have two apples in the same spot. So, simply, he just reverses the blue technique by multiplying his negative cursed energy by, more negative cursed energy, creating positive. I don't know if it's technically positive energy, but you know what I'm saying. Negative times negative equals positive. Anyway, math is fun, at least when you're Satoru Gojo. And the next technique is, let's just put it simply, quite impressive. Yeah, we're moving on to Hollow Purple. A lot of people may know that Hollow Purple is simply the combination of Reversal Red and Azure Glow. Put them together, red, blue, purple. Okay, but conceptually, in action, what is going on? Well, basically what is happening is what's happening right before our eyes. We see a negative infinity and a positive infinity, two opposite infinities trying to merge into the same spot. This causes basically space and God itself to just wince in pain. And anything that is touched by this paradoxical purple lightning destruction ball that is two polar different infinities stuck together is just erased from existence. It's not getting blown up. It's not getting torn to shreds. It's not getting eviscerated. It is getting Control-Alt-Deleted, Task Manager, and tasked out of existence. It is just erased. It no longer exists. There is nothing left of it. Anything that is touched by Hollow Purple, without exception, ceases to exist. If it takes your arm, there is no more arm. You can be fine. Arm, it is not a part of reality anymore. It literally just deletes stuff. I think you kind of understand why this is so insane now. Yeah, this is crazy. And then real quick, before I get onto the domain expansion, which is going to be the last thing for, the Limitless technique, I do want to mention Gojo can teleport. himself, other people, both himself and other people. We don't really know how he does it. We don't know if it's just like super high speed travel or actual technical teleportation. I don't know. But he got some weird transport abilities that we don't really know exactly how they work. Now that that's out of the way, we can move on to the domain expansion. And this one is, well, pretty simple actually. We know how domain expansions work. You just, well, expand your domain. Anyway, the effect that the Limitless Void has on people is simply that they are given everything. Every bit of knowledge, every bit of information, everything is at their disposal, at their fingertips. They know, see, feel, all. However, when this happens, it's kind of a cruel twist of fate. You cannot move, you cannot feel, you cannot think, you cannot really do anything. You are stuck. It is too much. It basically shuts everything down because of an overload of information. And at that point, well, you're kind of just at Gojo's whim, granted. If you haven't noticed through all of the crazy stuff he can do, you were always at Gojo's whim. So, that's it for the Limitless. That explains everything. I apologize if this wasn't a typical type of explanation. I wanted to kind of take how these things work and break them down into a simple, kind of more real-life idea that is much more easy to understand and soak up. I hope I did that properly. If not, I hope you guys at least enjoyed. And if you did, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, like I said. And thank you if you're still around. You're a real one. I'm out. I'll see you next time.